It's 12:30 midday. You're still in bed because you worked a night shift at the bar. Just like any other day. Nothing special. The balance of the universe seemed in equilibrium. Then suddenly you hear a ferocious rumble like thunder, and within a split second you feel your home being swept off its feet like a fair maiden. But unfortunately for you, reality dawned on you pretty quickly, as your home is subsequently crushed and you find yourself wallowing in a dark, viscose sludge. In the midst of the wreckage of what used to be your home, a lone piece of wood is the only thing that keeps you from drowning. You're left in a daze, confused as at what was going on. Shortly after regaining your composure, you realize what the strange liquid was, and start calling out to your siblings and your aged mom in horror. Only your immediate younger sister responds to your call. She was lucky. Your brother and mother weren't. The culprit was molasses. Yes, hot, sticky pancake syrup, moving faster than a car in traffic. This was the experience of a family in Boston amongst many others in 1919. At Boston's North End, a company called United States Industrial Alcohol Company built a massive steel tank. We're talking over 2 million gallons of molasses. The thing is, molasses wasn't just food. It was also used in the production of industrial alcohol. And business was booming. So naturally, they rushed construction. This tank was basically a disaster waiting to happen. It leaked constantly. People literally collected dripping molasses in buckets. Instead of fixing it, they even painted the tank brown to hide the leaks. Oh, and it was never properly pressure tested by an engineer with any sort of experience. A massive wave of molasses surged through the streets at up to 35 miles per hour. Buildings were crushed. People were knocked off their feet. Horses, carts, and entire structures were swept away. And here's the worst part. Molasses is thick, so once it hits you, you don't just get knocked down, you get stuck. The disaster killed 21 people and injured over 100. Rescue efforts were chaotic because everything was coated in sticky syrup. Even months later, Boston residents said, on hot days, the streets still smelled like molasses. The company tried to blame anarchists, because apparently exploding syrup is now a political conspiracy. But after years of investigation, they were found responsible. The disaster led to stricter building regulations and safety laws across the U.S. What would be your response if you were asked, what's the fastest way to ruin an entire empire? Well, ask King Sebastian of Portugal. In 1578, this 24-year-old monarch managed to accomplish what no enemy could: wipe out his country's army, nobility, treasury, and independence in one afternoon. He achieved this incredible feat by taking one of the most expensive side quests in human history. Crowned king at 3 years old, raised by strict Jesuit tutors who molded the young king's mind and basically grew up with no parents, unlimited power, and zero chill. He was obsessed with crusades, often thinking to himself, I was born to save Christianity. He even owned a custom suit of armor so extra it literally had moving parts, symbolizing virtues like victory and power. And then came his biggest influence, a poet named Luís de Camões, who dropped Portugal's national epic, the Lusíads, which basically said, Portugal used to be great, go conquer stuff again. Donald Trump would have been overjoyed with such beautiful words. Sebastian read that and said, say less. Then the opportunity came. A deposed Moroccan sultan shows up like, hey bro, help me get my throne back. Sebastian didn't see a complicated political situation involving the Ottoman Empire backing his enemy. He saw a divine quest marker to set him on his path to greatness. Now here's the crazy part. Morocco wasn't weak by any stretch of imagination. The new ruler, Abd al-Malik, had fought with the Ottomans, survived major wars, and eventually convinced them to back him up in taking the throne for himself. A true military genius. Meanwhile, Sebastian's preparation strategy was to borrow money, hire some random mercenaries, and to conscript the majority of his country's nobility into the army, with the added bonus of mortgaging basically the entire spice trade, which the economy was largely dependent on. The Pope told him, please, no. Philip II of Spain, his maternal uncle, said, "This is stupid." His treasury cried, "We are broke as hell!" Sebastian replied, "We ride by sunset." The campaign was basically a desert disaster bingo. March into Morocco, in August with 45 degrees Celsius heat? Check. Wear heavy European armor, in a desert? Check. No supply lines? Checkmate. At the Battle of Alcácer Quibir, everything collapsed. Sebastian's army got surrounded and absolutely destroyed. And here's the part that sounds fake, but isn't. It's called the Battle of the Three Kings because Sebastian died, Abd al-Malik died, the guy Sebastian came to help also died. Everybody lost. Now you'd think it couldn't get worse. It does. Most of Portugal's nobles, dead or captured. The survivors? Held for ransom so expensive it basically bankrupted the country. The treasury? Gone. Sebastian's body was never found, which led to people genuinely believing he'd come back one day. Tragically, he had no heir. So, guess who stepped in? That same guy who said, "Don't do this," Philip II of Spain. And just like that, Portugal lost its independence for 60 years. Sebastian didn't just lose a battle, he ended a royal dynasty that had ruled for 138 years. Imagine your entire city smells so bad that the people running it can't even sit through a meeting. Now imagine the solution offered by the said politicians was to just unceremoniously spray chemicals on it. Well, believe it or not, this was the now majestic city of London. By the mid-1800s, the River Thames wasn't really a river anymore. It was a putrid soup mixture of human waste, animal waste, industrial runoff, and whatever else people didn't feel like dealing with, all slowly marinating under the blazing sun. London had turned its main water source into a flowing biohazard. And yes, people still used it. Then came the summer of 1858. Hot. Like, aggressively hot. The heat cooked the river so good it started releasing a smell so nauseating it got a name. The Great Stink. The curtains in Parliament got soaked in chemicals in an attempt to make the stench bearable. Lawmakers held clothes to their faces. This wasn't just unpleasant. People believed the smell itself spread diseases like cholera. At the time, many believed disease spread through bad air, which, if you think about it, couldn't be far from the truth. It's a well-documented fact that poor personal hygiene and environmental sanitary practices led to some of the most gruesome disease epidemics ever recorded in human history. You would think the government's brilliant first-choice solution to this problem was to obviously just fix the sewage system. No. Officials started dumping huge amounts of chlorinated lime into the Thames, basically trying to equalize the smell like it was some high school lab experiment gone wrong. Turns out that, like with most government policies that weren't properly vetted, it only made things worse. The smell was still there, but now with an added boost of irritating, toxic chemical fumes. So they basically maxed the stats of the horrific smell, transmorphing it from a "this smells awful" level of stench to a "this smells awful and burns your lungs." Congratulations, with the ingenious use of taxpayers' money. Thankfully, this disaster actually worked out, in part due to the fact that the Parliament, now being so desperate to save face, they finally funded a real solution. Enter Joseph Bazalgette, the man who designed London's modern sewer system. He built massive underground tunnels to carry waste away from the city. He designed and oversaw the construction of over 1,100 miles of street sewers and 82 miles of main intercepting sewers, completed in the 1860s and 1870s. This achieved the much-needed separation of human waste from drinking water, ending the frequent, severe cholera outbreaks of the mid-19th century. It's funny how the most obviously simple solutions always seems to be overlooked until an alternative comes around and bites you in the backside.